Hello, everyone. Welcome to this conversation on life lessons between Elle and me.
Hi.
I wanted to give you guys a brief spiel on why Eleanor and me decided to do this conversation about life lessons. It's a very deep topic, it feels, and also really serious. And it's not something that we normally talk about. We talk about other things usually, but I thought that it would be a good time. Eleanor actually brought it up. That it would be a good time for us to talk about it because it's been 5 years since I moved from the traditional life path that I was on in April 2016 to where I am right now. And it's been a major journey, obviously getting here. But I I had the realization recently because Eleanor pointed out that, it's been 5 years. And I'm sure she's like, I'm sure we have many lessons to share. And so I was like, yeah, let's have this conversation. And the same thing for you, right?
Yeah, so in 2016, same as you, I made a decision to go off the traditional training path. So I'd done my core training as a psychiatrist. And then after that, there's like a specific path that most people take. And I just thought I want to do something different and I want more flexibility. So it's been 5 years since I made that change, and it's really changed like the course of my life. So I was in that reflective mode anyway, and then I thought, oh, this is similar to you, so why don't we both talk about what we've learned along the way? So here we are.
Perfect. I'm really glad that you suggested it because I would have never thought about this unless you had actually brought it up. So thank you for that. And so let's start off with the first one. You want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, one of the things I've learned is that most things are reversible in life. So I think we agonize over decisions, we go round and round ruminating, when really most things that we decide to do, we could undo them at any point. So for me, it was about coming off the traditional training course. And I knew that even if I chose to do something else for now, if worse came to worse, I could get back on that track. And I think just seeing that happen with that particular element of my life made me think actually it applies to everything. You can befriend someone and then decide they're not the right person for you, or you could enter a relationship and decide, okay, that's not the right thing for you. All different career choices. There's a lot of opportunity in life, and I feel like sometimes we agonize so much over decisions that we waste time when we could be experiencing things and actually just enjoying them for what they are. So one of the things I've learned is just, things are reversible. Don't spend ages, even if it's a train ticket or a concert ticket, you can buy it and then decide not to use it if you no longer want to go to wherever you were going. So I think we just need to get to that place in our lives now where we can see that we don't need to take everything so seriously.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We actually exchanged these life lessons a couple of days before we decided to do this conversation. And, that was the one that caught my eye the most. I was like, yes, 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 everything is reversible. Because it just, it is so relieving to me at least as a perfectionist.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, no, I can reverse it. So it's not really a mistake. It's like if it can be fixed, it's not a mistake anymore. Yeah, you might lose a few dollars in the process perhaps, but it's totally worth it because you tried something and you got over it.
Yeah.
Um,
What would you say is something big that you've learned in the past 5 years?
so my first one that I would definitely say has been a big lesson for me, that was not my lesson before, was slow and steady wins the race. And I know you've all heard the story of the turtle or the tortoise versus the hare. And it's like everyone's been drummed into that idea. Oh, you go slow, it's fine. But
Yeah.
no one actually does it in practice. You might learn about this adage and be like, oh, it's okay, you can go slow. But no one actually is like, oh yeah, you can go slow. Your teachers are never like, you can go slow, it's fine.
They're like, hurry
Your
up.
parents are never like that.
Yeah.
So I really feel like for me, as soon as I realized that actually, in fact, if I went slow, I make less mistakes because then I end up doing things, in a more in a fashion where I'm thinking more about it, I'm planning more about it, I'm sharpening my axe, as Abraham Lincoln would say. And I'm just not just jumping into it saying, oh, I'm just doing it, no matter what happens, kind of thing. And I have a tendency to do that too. And I make so many mistakes and then I have to correct those mistakes and I have to backtrack. And so instead of doing all that, why don't I just take a breath, and slow down and figure out, okay, what do I want to do here? What's my goal with this? Do I actually even want to do it? Because a lot of times you'll actually think about it and realize, you know what, actually this is not for me.
Yeah.
So I really, really feel like it's important to take that deep breath and to say, okay, I'm not on a deadline here, even though society might tell me that I need to get married by a certain age or, you know, have a house by a certain age. There is no deadline really. And even as an entrepreneur, there's no deadline really, if you think about it, unless you're like going to go bankrupt, and then at that point it's too late anyway. So really there is no deadline. You can take your time, you know, relax through it and actually have fun through the process, and you know, look up from your work a bit and actually enjoy life and realize how lucky you are to, or I am, to live this life, and how lucky I am to do these things with my friends. You know, I can go on a Zoom call and start talking about life lessons. Like, how amazing is that, you know?
Yeah. And I think that makes me think about one of the other lessons that I've learned in terms of just looking after yourself and realizing that it's great to achieve lots of things, but it's also great to rest. So particularly during the pandemic, I found that I spent more time just lying down, you know, watching the clouds move, or, you know, listening to rain, and, you know, all those really kind of sensory type things. And I realized how big a part of life it is as well. So I've always been someone who's like, go, 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 and, you know, always wanted to achieve certain things. I'm very goal orientated, as I know you are, Boo. And, you know, when you're that kind of person, you don't even know what it's like to just sit down and relax, or, you know, just breathe and be okay with who you are just by doing nothing. So I think I learned how much I love doing nothing and how much it's necessary for me, because I need it to kind of build up the energy to then go and do the next thing. And it's, I think, the way that I was living before, where I just thought, you know, everything needs to be done in 1 year or something. It's too much. So that's definitely something I've learned.
Yes, I know. I've noticed a big shift in the way our conversations run as well, because you're like, oh yeah, before we'd be like, yeah, let's start a book club and let's start a podcast and let's start this as well at the same time. And now you're like, okay, I don't want to overwork myself. I don't want to overdo it. So, you know, we'll start one thing and then we'll think about the rest after.
Yeah.
And for me, I totally resonated with this one. And I actually put it down as one of my life lessons as well, because, and I wrote it out as, you know, self-care is key. And without self-care and without health, you have really nothing. You might have like millions of dollars and like really be poor as anything, right? And I noticed this a lot in the digital nomad community that I hang out with a lot, mostly because I'm mostly in Asian cities that are big hubs for these kind of communities. And I noticed that a lot of these people are so obsessed with the idea of making money, which I understand. I was there as well. But they just like, they are totally letting go of their health. They don't eat enough or they don't sleep enough. You can literally see their bodies deteriorating in front of their eyes. You know, are they drinking too much or doing too many drugs in order to relax themselves because they're so stressed out? And a lot of them start gaining a lot of weight. You can see that, you know, they've been kind of obviously not taking care of themselves. And, you know, I would see that and I'm like, okay, there's no point if they had millions of dollars, because then after a certain point of time, it's kind of irreversible to take care of your health. Yeah, I mean, once you get some kind of illness, maybe you can heal yourself, but a lot of times it's hard to heal from that point. Also, if you're not able to enjoy all that money that you created, then what's the point? You know, I just don't even see the point in it. So for me, I realized very early on that I was not going to make money or, you know, reach my goals at the detriment of my health. And this is something that I really keep to my heart as time goes on.
And I think in doing that, you have to do one of the other things that I think is one of my biggest lessons, which is take the path that's right for you, because people around you are going to give you so many tips about your health, about who you should marry, when you should marry, how many kids you should have. You know, like everyone's going to have all this advice and ideas about how you live your life, but you have to be that person who's like, I know myself, or at least I'm getting to know myself. And each of the lessons I'm picking up each day about who I am, I need to actually apply this. So if I know that the thing that's going to make me happy is not going to be having, you know, 10 children running around the house, then don't do it.
Oh my gosh, 10 children.
most of us live in a free world, and I think we don't take enough advantage of the choices and opportunities that we have to actually carve out the life that you want. And you can do that with your job, you can do that with relationships, like your mental health. You need to think, do I want to start my days with a routine or ritual that's going to calm me down? Do I want to end my days like that? Like you get to actually paint the picture of what you want and then move towards it. And I think in the past 5 years, that's been something that I'm learning more and more. I don't even feel like I'm fully there yet, but I feel like every day that I'm able to say, this is how I want to shape my life and actually make something happen the way I want it to be, the more I'm like, yeah, you can literally do this with most of the aspects of your life.
Yes, very well said. I really love that. And I think that my point, my life lesson really resonates with that, which is, keep your eye on the goalpost. And don't let yourself be distracted from like this shiny object here and that shiny object here.
Yes.
And that was something that I have to fight. I have to fight that almost daily, because there's so many advertisements about different things that as an entrepreneur I could be doing, or different marketing strategies I could be using. And I could be on TikTok right now, but I'm not. Or I could be doing Snapchat, which I didn't, or all of these different things that are just there and people are making money off of it, and you're like, oh my god, maybe I should do that too. And then especially in the digital nomad community, everyone's talking about this and that, and everyone has ideas about what the next best thing is, and you always feel like there's this fear of missing out. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the only one who's left behind. And then after a while you have to be like, all right, I'm fine with being left behind, because I'm focusing on my goals, which are completely different from everyone else's goals. And they're going on their path, let them do what they need to do. I'm going on my path. I'm going to do what I need to do, because what I need to do is going to be perhaps similar to some other people, but probably very different from other people's goals and desires with their life, right? I mean, for us, a lot of us, for me and Eleanor, for us, most importantly is time freedom. Like, more important than anything else is time freedom. And for a lot of people, they don't care about that. They care more about financial freedom. And so, of course, our life paths are going to look very different, and that's okay. If I remember that, I can stay on my goalpost and I can stop getting distracted by everything that comes at me.
Yes, I think I've learned that as well. Just stop looking around like, what else is there? What do I need to do? And just think, okay, this is the thing I said I wanted right now. So let me move towards that. And then if something else, crops up, then that you do have the power and the choice to deviate. But yeah, I think that's such a big lesson that you shared. It's one that I'm still learning. I feel like all of these lessons, we've learned them, but we're still learning them at the same time. Which is good, because you feel like every day you're seeing how you cope with life and seeing what it is that it would take for you to change course. And I think that's one of the things that I do. I see myself as either a character in a book or a character on like a video game, and I'm always thinking to myself, how am I going to solve this next problem, or how am I going to navigate this next circumstance or situation? So one of my lessons is, rather than getting panicky when certain things happen and honing in on what the circumstance is, like actually tap into your curiosity and your creativity and think, okay, if I was this character in a book, wouldn't I want to know what happens next? What does she do next? Where does she go next? How does she solve this one? And it sounds really weird and detached in some ways, because you're like literally telling yourself you're just this character. But I think for me, it really helps in terms of anxiety and just not taking life too seriously. I think just having that ability to step back a bit and say, right, let me watch her, see what she does next. I think it's just, it's made a big, big difference to my life. And it's probably why I've been able to make some of the choices I've made over the past 5 years and not kind of freak out the way that I think I would have before that. So yeah, that's one of mine as well.
I love that. And also, I think they call it the heroine's journey, or the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell calls it that, and I really love that, because it really truly is a unique heroine's journey that you're on, right? And so let's see what goes on. Like, even God's looking down, if you believe in God, but God's looking down and saying, okay, let's see what this little soul is going to do, this little baby of mine. And he's pushing and helping you in different ways, but he's also standing back and saying, okay, let's see what she does, and let's let her have some fun. So yeah, I love that. And in relation to that, for me, it was don't worry about the future so much. It's kind of taking care of itself, and trust and surrender. And literally, trust and surrender has been my word of the year for the last 2-3 years, because I've been really trying to inculcate that quality into me. Because I know I have a tendency to be like, I believe, I have faith in God, but I don't have trust in my future. And it's so funny because recently God has been showing me over and over again that, hey, it's okay, relax, because I've been taking care of everything already. And I'll check on something and I'll be like, okay, I need to check on this. And it's already been done, and I'll check on something else and I'm like, oh, it's already been done as well. And so really, you just do what you need to do. You take the steps you need to take. And in the background, the universe is working its magic and everything's kind of taking care of itself. And the more we kind of interfere with things, I think we actually ruin them. We kind of like
we are the ruiner of things.
Yeah. So we're like, oh, I'm doing a good thing here, but you're actually ruining it. So just stop fiddling with things when they don't need to be fiddled with, and just let go and surrender, and let trust that the universe is taking care of your future, because it is actually. A lot of things I was like, oh, I did it. No, I didn't. The universe took care of it. So.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I don't know if you remember a time when I messaged you about my windows, and I was saying, oh, like they really, I was just looking at them being like they needed cleaning, and literally a window cleaner just emerged from nowhere and was cleaning my windows. And I was like, what?
I remember that.
You heard me say this in my head. So this kind of stuff happens all the time, and I think these little things even mean more than the big things that work themselves out, because you think someone out there is listening to me enough to know that someone needs to clean my windows. I think it's amazing that we're being taken care of so well in so many situations. And I know we go through difficult times, and there is a lot of woe is me in the world, and feeling like the world is against you, and you're a victim of life, and it can feel that way. I'm not going to kind of discount that and say no one should feel like that. It's never the case, etc. But I think if you really look at your life and you look at the many things that could have gone wrong, or the many ways that things could have been disappointing or hurtful, or and didn't end up that way, I think you will see that something is working in your favor at least some of the time. And if you tap into that gratitude, I find that you get more and more of it. So I think we all need to really look at the things that are going in our favor, and try not to focus so much on those things that might not be the way that we want it, and also know that we play a role in shaping things as well. So it's not a case of always looking to someone else to to change our lives. We also need to do that at the same time, believing that if we take those steps, then something is going to happen to work together with us so that it happens the way that we need it to.
Yes, but I do want to point out that you have to take the steps. You can't just be sitting in your living room praying and hoping and feeling like everything's going to work out the way it is. You still have to do the work, but also trust that the work that you're doing is resulting in something that you're going to go to eventually.
Yeah,
I think we're on the last. Yes, we talk about that.
We're just like, we can't deal with this victim mentality. But
I know. Oh my gosh,
we've seen problems in our lives and then thought, how do we sort it out? And then we've just gone for it. And then along the way, other people chip in, or it ends up being us doing it ourselves. But we see how it resolves. So both of us are people who just can't sit, in the mud and be like, I'm stuck here. We are like, I have to move. I have to do something.
Yes. And I think even the Bible says, I'm not an expert, but it says something like, people, it helps people who help themselves, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not quoting it right, but something like that. Yeah. And, it's really truly like every religious book we read is always telling you that, yes, I'm here for you. God's always saying, I'm here for you, but also you have to do a little bit of work yourself, start it off and I'll help you with the rest. So.
Yeah, when you were saying that, it made me think of this hymn that we used to sing in school, because I went to a Catholic school, and it says things like, when you walk through the waters, I'll be with you. But the point is, you still have to walk through the waters. It's not like I'm going to carry you through and you literally don't move, you don't do anything, So there is a big emphasis on we need to do something as well if we want something to happen. And if we need things to change, we have to be changing our minds, changing our actions. I'm a big believer in all of that.
Yes, absolutely. We're both like definitely doers rather than
Yes.
sitters.
Yes.
And I think this kind of leads into my last lesson, and then you can go on with your last one, which is be patient. God is giving you everything you need in good time, which is like perfect. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is literally something that I'm constantly trying to drum into myself, saying, "Don't worry, be patient. You know, it might take 5 years, it might take 10 years." I actually was like, I'm gonna be living my ideal life in the first year. That's what I was thinking when I first left the job. I was like, 1 year and I'll be there. And then 1 year passed by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not there yet. I didn't realize it was going to take 5 years or, 4.5 or whatever it was. But, after that, I was like, all right, just forget about it. Forget about the amount of time it's going to take. Just, enjoy it, have fun with it, be patient. Everything's happening. And the more patient I was, the faster things moved, which is how ironically the universe works. And as soon as I was like, all right, I don't want to care. I'm just loving what I'm doing. It just completely fell into place exactly how I wanted it to be. Which is
And
where I am
I
right
love
now.
watching you just kind of living the life you wanted, saying I want
Yes.
to live in this country and then being there like, a few months later. I think when you see other people live their lives like that, it makes you realize that you've got the ability to as well. And I think watching your journey has really inspired me because I see us both as nomads. You're more of a nomad moving between countries, and I'm more of a nomad moving between cities and jobs and things like that.
Yes.
And just, all of us, both of us are just grabbing experiences. And I think for me, in terms of the nomadic lifestyle, one of the things that I've learned is that basically, if you enjoy who you are and if you enjoy your own company, then wherever you go, you're going to be happy. Because I've lived in like places that are so different from each other, but because I enjoy my company, because when I'm at home, I'm happy with who I am and what I'm doing, and the projects I take on and things like that. I find that the place doesn't really matter. Like people keep asking me, I moved last year, and people keep asking me, what's the new city like and everything, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't go out. I don't go out, but I'm happy, like I'm just,
Yes.
The main thing that I needed to be in the city is myself, and
Yes.
I'm here and I'm enjoying it. And I think for you as well, living in countries where you start off not knowing anybody and then start making friends as you go through. I think you also need that whole kind of happy with myself, therefore happy with life kind of philosophy. So yeah,
Exactly.
that would be my last lesson, I think.
I love that. I really love that. And I mean, I think if we just learned that lesson, a lot of us wouldn't be running around chasing something that's outside of ourselves, which a lot of my life was spent doing that. So I really love that life lesson. I think that's so important. It does take time though. It takes a little bit of like wisdom and growth in order to get to that point. But once you do, it's so satisfying.
Definitely. And I think one of the reasons I really wanted us to do this talk is because we aren't people who necessarily would notice that kind of thing as a lesson. I think some of these things we need to say them out loud so that we can reinforce them and kind of consciously tap into these lessons now. I think there'll be more lessons along the way, like in the next 5 years. But I think for right now, just being able to take stock of where we are and what we've done and what we continue to do and what we won't do anymore because we've tried it and it just doesn't work. I think it's so important. So I'm glad that we've had this conversation. I see it as a celebration of who we are now versus who we were then, but also as a way to kind of mark a point in history so that when we look back on this conversation 5 years further down the line, we can then say, okay, I'm now in a different place, or I've now learned more lessons, and just keep adding that to our catalogue of lessons. So yeah, it's been really good to talk to you today about all of this stuff.
I love that. I actually also I kind of got chills when you said the next 5 years, and I can totally imagine us sitting, in 5 years, living like an even amazing, more awesome, idealistic, perfect life, and being like, oh my god, I can't believe I actually was in that particular villa back 5 years ago when we did the first video, because look at me now. And same thing for you. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my life. This is how I live. And it's just so gratifying to see that progress. Also to kind of go on this journey with you has been so amazing, because it's kind of like, obviously we're sisters. I mean, I consider you my sister. And we're sisters on a path, like sisters from different mothers, but sisters. And we're going on this path together, sharing our trials and tribulations, and it feels really, really good. I feel really grateful.
Me too, definitely. It helps to have someone who is like-minded and also just living a similar life. Although I feel like we're so different and we live such different lives, but there's a very similar kind of theme that I think we have similar values, so we move towards similar things. And I think it's really nice to just see that in someone else and also in yourself at the same time. We help each other reflect on life.
Yes, also because you see things differently, I can ask you like, what do you think about this? And you can give me a very objective viewpoint on things. That really helps. And the sun is coming up now, so obviously it's telling me, okay, end the video. Oh my gosh. So I'm sorry about the weird lighting situation, but again, thank you so much everyone for listening, and hopefully these 5 life lessons that we've shared, each of us have shared, will help you in some way. And if you have life lessons of your own to share with us, in the comments or wherever you're listening to us, share it with us. We're always looking forward to that. And again, thank you for spending time with us. We shall see you in the next one, wherever we see you again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.